this one is more of a conversation starter. This next one, Clark, because we have to have the conversation. South Carolina at Texas A&M. The Aggies are a 14-point favorite. If you have watched the Aggies play offense of late, you are wondering how that's possible. If you have watched South Carolina play defense of late, you know exactly why that's possible.
It has not been a, all right, let's just say the regression for South Carolina has been expected. Coming into this year, they were the only SEC program each of the last 2 years to finish bottom 5 in rush yards before contact on offense and have a bottom 5 defensive success rate. That's not a good recipe for success, no matter how well your punter can throw the ball, Andy. It just does not matter. So that has bled over to this year. Of course, you start the season really with a really strong opponent in North Carolina. And even though Spencer Rattler has looked a lot better, it's just, yeah, that offensive line has not progressed. And that secondary, despite having some fairly talented names, has not been a consistent unit. It's even allowed someone like Graham Mertz, who had a bottom 3 average depth of target and one of the lowest explosive pass rates in the SEC, pick them apart, throw for 400 yards, and completely flip his perception because of one great fourth.
Wait, are you insinuating that he did not become Peyton Manning in that one game?
Well, maybe not Peyton Manning, but maybe not even Justin Herbert either, my friend. I mean, like, yeah, it's crazy how much people want to say how much better he improved because of feasting on that fantastic secondary of South Carolina, who is 115th in the country in EPA per pass.
Does Max Johnson, last seen getting buried by Tennessee defenders play after play after play, does he have a similar bounce back against this defense? Because it feels like it's not getting better for South Carolina.
No, I just think, I mean, look, talk about, this is another offensive line that's just had a lot of issues. Texas A&M. They allow a lot of pressure and havoc, as we saw last weekend. And Max Johnson, he does suffer from drops. He does suffer from a high pressure rate. So there are a lot of things outside of his control. And again, that's just not a good recipe for success, even if you are playing, let's just say, a lackluster type of opponent in South Carolina. But because of how strong Moss has come along running the ball, Daniels has been a decent change of pace back for them. And of course, they have a great group of pass catchers. I just think there's so much there for them to win fairly comfortably here because that defense has just been fantastic. Of course, banged up. We need to see what happens with Walter Nolan, how long he's going to be out. Same with Edge Cooper, linebackers. Both of them just been sack machines, it seems like, over the last month or so. But the way they just turned, Durkin had, last time we talked about, like, it looked like it was a mistake of a hire, but, how quickly things can change in college football. And because of how they just have this aggressive, downfield-oriented attack, I just don't see how South Carolina's offensive line can hold up and give Rattler time either to escape and make plays with his legs, where he's been fairly good, or stretch the field and find big Xavier Legette for big plays.
So here's all of this that we've just said leads to this. Texas A&M better win this game.
Yeah, this is a must-win. Must-win. You cannot lose this game at home to a floundering Shane Beamer. Like, I mean, say what you want about Shane Beamer, but he's an easy target for people to say, he's you lost to that guy.
Yeah. He kicked something and broke his foot. I mean, come on.
Jimbo, you cannot lose to the guy who broke his foot because he couldn't figure out how to defend Florida's receivers. You just can't do it.
And that's where they're at. So we saw the hot seat stuff for Jimbo coming out of the Tennessee game. Here's the deal with that. Right now, they don't have anybody willing to write those checks. Mm-mm. If they lose to South Carolina, those people will present themselves. They will volunteer. And that's where it will go. Because, and Jesse Simonton wrote this column early last week, and I thought it was a good point. Mm-hmm. It's going to happen sooner or later. He's not going to get them where they want to go. And so the closer they get to a season next year where they end the season with Texas, and Texas looks like it is improving and getting to the point where it can contend for titles, and A&M is sort of stuck in the mud, they're going to make a move unless something changes drastically. And this, of course, would just send them over the edge. So they have to win this.
Yes. I mean, I'm not saying like even this year it was all Jimbo's fault. They just have had terrible luck with their quarterback. Let's say Connor Wegman never goes down. Where would they be? I think they would probably win at Tennessee. I think the momentum would be better. But yeah, it's just like I think the last 3 years, our starting quarterback entering the season has gone down. Obviously, it's so hard to try and right the ship after something like that happens. No matter if you are a quarterback whisperer, yes or no, whether Jimbo is or not, but like no matter who you are, that's a really tough assignment for anybody to try and pick up the pieces. So this is 100% must win tight butthole type of ball game for College Station fans.
I like tight butthole ball game. We're gonna print T-shirts with that. The tight butthole game of the week, and it is. I mean, and this is why I think South Carolina may be able to cover 2 touchdowns.
And that's what, because like you put so much pressure on themselves. And again, like even though Rattler playing behind that line is not necessarily a great consistent approach, they can capture those explosive plays better than most offenses around the country.
And the other thing, and perhaps this is a home away thing. It maybe just be Neyland Stadium is very loud and it affects you. But one thing that A&M had a problem with in the Tennessee game was low snaps. If that continues, that's the sort of thing. It doesn't matter who you're playing. It can just wreck your offense because your quarterback is looking down. He's trying to gather the ball. And when he looks back up, here's all these monsters coming right at him. I don't care how good your pass rush is or bad your pass rush is. It becomes a good one when the snaps at the guy's shoes.
I mentioned that allowed havoc, but I also track a statistic called broken play rates. Those would be considered broken plays. Unsurprisingly, maybe to people who have not been paying attention to the SEC, but these 2 offenses are bottom 2 within the conference in that regard. So I think this can be a safe one for the under, but because, again, it is the tight butthole game of the week, there's going to be a lot of mistakes that could ultimately swing the ball game one way or the other. Yeah,
if they weren't playing South Carolina, I'd be going, can they score 14 points? This is why I'm taking that's how I picked the Iowa-Wisconsin game, because Wisconsin was favored, I believe, by 9.5 against Iowa. And my thing was, I don't think Wisconsin can score 10 points in this game, so they can't possibly cover that spread. So it was a pretty easy way to pick. In this one, they can score against South Carolina's defense. So it is a little tricky. They could possibly cover, but I think South Carolina winds up covering this.
I mean, absolutely. It is a fairly safe bet to do so because of that. Like, it's the same kind of qualms I had with Penn State last week. How many long sustained drives can you get? And if that's your best, modus operandi and your offensive line has been shaky, I just don't see how they can get past the two touchdown margin without either like a special team touchdown or like a pick 6 or something, which is possible. But just because how South Carolina can keep things close with a little bit more, I guess, offense with teeth in terms of passing downfield, and that's one of the best way to flip fields. I think, that's a really safe bet for them to come.
Right, and it feels like there's more randomness involved when you have a quarterback who can hit big plays down the field. It brings more randomness into the game.
And win in backyard ball situations. He's a lot better of an athlete when things break down than Max Johnson. No offense to Max Johnson, who is fairly okay at that. It's really not his strength. Right. You can see his average depth of target he becomes like a check down Charlie, gets tunnel vision in that regard. And if again you're trying to get those explosive plays, it's a lot easier to do that when you're actually throwing down on field as opposed to putting the heavy lifting on the guys who have to get like 20, 30 yards after the catch, depending on where you target them.
Oh man, you're talking me further into South Carolina covering. The more we talk about it, I'm not going to have them win outright. I'm sorry,
no money line. Even though I'm sure that's a tasty bet. No. But I think that is a fairly frisky bet for a road cover.
Thank you so much for watching. Just a reminder, subscribe to this channel right here so you never miss an episode of Andy Staples on 3. And oh, by the way, watch all the other great videos on the On3 Sports YouTube channel.